All right, guys. I know there's nobody in here yet, but I have gone live a little early because John, the retired rider, guy in our community, is going to look at a new road glide at a dealership, and he's going to take us along. So I don't want to step on his live. So welcome in. If you have found this video because of the tag of either Jake Paul or Mike Tyson, I want to welcome you in. Basically, I am a moto vlogger, so if you have found this video because of that, I ask that you watch this video. Go back, check out some of the other videos, and if you think that I'm right for you, consider giving us a subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. But as I said, I am a moto vlogger, so what gives me the right to say anything about last night's event? Well, I have a little bit of experience in what happened last night, and for anyone who watched that event who thought that they were going to see a knockout from either Jake Paul or Mike Tyson, you were sadly mistaken. I do have moderators I see showing up: Moto Bomb Virginia, hey, Julie Smith, Buck Brown. So what you saw last night, if you watched the event, and I did, I watched me, TJ, and R1 watch the entire event. I'm going to be transparent with you. For the 3 rounds of that event, I was confused a little bit until the 4th round started, and I basically watched. I told R1, I said, they're going to go the full distance. They're going to take this the full 8 rounds, which they did. Because at the beginning of the 4th round, I understood exactly what was happening. What you saw last night was not a boxing event. It was a entertaining event. Of course, Netflix were the promoters, along with Jake Paul. Jake Paul was the promoter. He was the shot caller for that event last night, meaning he set up the matches. Top to bottom, it was a good event. I felt like each match was very well performed. I think the Serrano-Taylor match, those 2 young ladies went out there and they tore it down. They were properly placed on the card. They should be the double. It was a double main event. They were the first main event. That was proper. Those young ladies went out there and they had a good showing, went the distance. They wasn't pulling punches. Serrano and Taylor went out there and those young ladies had a fight. You know, I know there was a lot. Now let me say this. I have not watched any reactions on last night's event. So this is totally my perspective without anybody else swaying my perspective. But watching that fight, I think the first headbutt, the one that initially cut Serrano's eye open, that was a meeting of the minds. They were both southpaw. They're both left-handed fighters. They came in awkward and they butted heads. All the headbutts that followed that, I'm not so sure that those were accidental. Guys, if I am missing people's comments, I'm sorry, but I'm just going to try to get this off my chest. Moderators, if y'all don't care, take care of the comments in the chats if anything gets out of line. But what I saw last night with the Serrano-Taylor fight excited me for the first time. Last night's event overall excited me for pro boxing, and I hadn't been excited about boxing in years. I'm not going to lie. I quit following boxing. The last time I followed boxing closely was when Vladimir Klitschko and Vitaly Klitschko were at the top of business. Big fan of both of the brothers. But last night's event was an entertainment event. It wasn't a boxing event in the sense of the event, which was Jake Paul and Tyson. What you had happen in that main event last night, and I can speak to this as a promoter and as a guy who has wrestled professionally. I've been out there in front of the crowds. What you saw last night was several things. You saw, number one, Jake Paul proved to the world that he is a promoter. Jake Paul proved to the world that he is a fighter. He can fight. And number three, Jake Paul proved last night that he was a class act, and I will tell you why. Jake Paul, 31 years younger than Mike Tyson, could have went out there and literally danced around Mike Tyson and beat his brains out, but he didn't do that. On the same token, Mike Tyson could have went out there in one short burst with either a left hook or an overhand right and knocked Jake Paul. If he didn't knock him out, he would have at least knocked him down. The fourth round began, and I realized that it was very much a passing of the torch. Mike Tyson never got that in his career. I followed Mike's career from the day I first realized what boxing was. Mike Tyson has always been a polarizing figure, but he has always been a draw. You remember back when Mike Tyson showed up at WrestleMania for Vince McMahon. Steve Austin and Shawn Michaels were on top in WrestleMania as the main event for the WWE title. Mike Tyson was there. That was the biggest pay-per-view they had ever had up to that point. Mike Tyson draws money. Jake Paul understood that, so did Netflix. But Mike Tyson got to pass the torch, and he had never gotten that in his career. Of course, after his marriage with Robin Givens fell apart, the whole debacle with Don King. Don King single-handedly took the greatest fighter that pro boxing had seen since Ali and destroyed his career. That was Don King did that. Tyson finally had to admit that to himself later on in life. But what you saw last night was you saw Tyson get the opportunity to get his flowers. He had never gotten a chance to pass the torch. People were afraid to fight him. People were afraid of what kind of shape he was going to show up into a fight. So he never got that opportunity to be at the top of his business and pass the torch to the next generation. Tyson never got the opportunity to do that. That's why I say Jake Paul is a class act, because last night Jake Paul gave Mike Tyson his flowers. And how you know that is because when the 10-second warning sounded at the end of the last round, round 8, Jake Paul dropped his hands to his side and he bowed to Mike Tyson. Guys, as a sports entertainer, wrestler, boxer, basketball player, football player, hockey player, I don't care what sport you're in, when you drop your hands and you acknowledge the person that you're in a match with, that is huge. That's huge. Jake Paul gave Mike Tyson his flowers last night, and deservingly so. Jake Paul is a class act. On the other end of that coin, Mike Tyson introduced the world of old school boxing fans to Jake Paul, because by and large, it was a success. Jake Paul had to wake up this morning on cloud 9. He had to be over the moon about the performance of his event last night. It was a monetary success. It was a social media success. It was a old school boxing fan success. Had anybody other than Mike Tyson been on that card with Jake Paul, nobody would have watched it. But Mike Tyson gave Jake Paul the open door to the old boxing fans. It was a class act all the way around. Tyson, in one short burst, could have at least hurt Jake Paul. Could he have knocked him out? Was the power there? Listen, athletes, and as a performing athlete, I was a pro wrestler, your core has to be strong. Meaning you have to have stamina, endurance. You have to be able to deliver punishment as well as take punishment. On a guy like Mike Tyson who spent his entire life being an athlete, that core power never really goes away. It does diminish, it does slow down, but in a short burst, that power is still there. Mike Tyson could have easily, because if you will go watch it, and I'm sorry about the spoilers if anybody hasn't watched the match, there are spoilers here. But if you watch the 8 rounds, 2 minute rounds that they went, Jake Paul kept his gloves down the whole time. He did this every now and then, but for the most part, he was exposed. Mike Tyson could have landed an overhand right anytime he wanted to, but he didn't, because that was not the game plan. And on the same token, like I said, Jake Paul could have danced all over Mike Tyson out there, but he didn't, because that wasn't the plan. Tyson, you got to think Mike was feeling nostalgic when he went into that match. He was in there against a guy 31 years his junior. He was in there against a young guy who is taking the business seriously. He wants to be a serious fighter and a serious contender, no matter where he come from in his background. And a lot of time, the Paul brothers, Logan and Jake, get a bad rap because of social media. No matter where they came from, Mike Tyson knew Jake Paul was serious about boxing. That's why Tyson agreed to it. Yes, there was a big payout. Mike Tyson got a payday, absolutely, as he should. If you're good at something, never do it for free. If you're good at something, never do it for free, which is why I don't have a Patreon on YouTube. But that's a different story. But, Tyson, if he was standing in that ring looking at Jake Paul, it could have been very easy for him to see a young 19-year-old Mike Tyson, a young 20-year-old Mike Tyson. I mean, listen, guys, Mike Tyson is the youngest world heavyweight champion in history. That'll never be taken away from him. 20 years old, he became the youngest world heavyweight boxing champion in history. So Mike Tyson, looking across that ring, seeing Jake Paul, seeing a young man who wants to take the business seriously, seeing a young man who wants to be a part of the business, Tyson opens the door for him to do that last night. What I saw from the 4th round to the 8th round was a passing of the torch, was a passing of knowledge. Listen, there was no secret that Mike Tyson and Jake Paul were friends before this event happened. They both have been vocal about that. If you went into it with the idea that either man was going to hurt the other last night, you were mistaken in your thought. I thought that at one time myself. I thought, man, if Tyson gets in there and he forgets his power, or if Jake Paul gets in there and he forgets his power, it could be very easily a bad night. But what you got instead was a class act. Jake Paul understood the significance of being in a match with Mike Tyson. I'm going to be transparent with you as a pro wrestler. What I saw in that fight was choreography. Some of it looked staged and rehearsed. It did. It just did. The casual boxing fan or the casual entertainment fan would have not seen that. Some of it did look choreographed to me. I noticed that one of the commentators had made a comment about Tyson not looking good by the 2nd round. Tyson looked fine. He was dancing, he was bouncing. Tyson was fine. He was following the script. And one of the things that kept getting brought up was Tyson was sucking on his glove. He was doing that. That is a nervous tick that Mike Tyson has had ever since the late 80s, and I'll tell you why. If you promise not to tell nobody. If you'll keep that between us, I'll tell you why Tyson was sucking on that glove. Because in the 80s, late 80s, they used to take a brush and they would make a gel, and that's where their cocaine was, and they would paint that cocaine onto that glove, because wrestlers used to do it to wrap thumbs. They would take and they would paint the cocaine onto the glove, during the match, they would suck the cocaine off of that glove. If you want to know, there it is. That's why. That's a nervous tick. Tyson had done that for most of his career. They kept saying, well, I wonder if his mouth guard is off. No, his mouth guard was fine. He just had that tick of getting the cocaine off of the glove. Now, I'm not saying he was doing cocaine off of his glove last night. I don't think he would be at all. But I'm saying a 28, 29-year-old Mike Tyson was sucking cocaine off of his glove. So, but Tyson showed the world last night that a 58-year-old man who still believes in himself. Listen, did Tyson go in there and think he could throw haymakers with Jake Paul for 8 rounds? No. No, he did not. He knew that if he tried that, he was going to end up making himself look awful. Jake Paul last night made Mike Tyson look like $1 million, or $4 million, or ever how much they paid Tyson for the fight. But Jake Paul understood, and I've said it twice, and I'll say it one more time. Jake Paul understood the significance of what he was doing last night. He understood the importance of what Mike Tyson was doing for him last night. When he dropped his hands in the 8th round, at the end of the 8th round, and he bowed to Mike Tyson, guys, as a sports entertainer, I got to tell you, I got a little heavy on that one, because that meant something. It don't mean nothing to the casual boxing fan, but to Mike Tyson, when Jake Paul dropped his hands and bowed to him, that meant everything. That meant everything to Mike Tyson. And guys, I'll say it again, Jake Paul showed last night that he was a class act, because he did that for Tyson. Tyson put Jake Paul over. Jake Paul put Tyson over. Was it entertaining? We're here talking about it today, aren't we? Was it eye-opening? Again, we are here talking about it today. I have not scanned social media. I have not read anybody else's reviews or comments about the fight, because I wanted to give my own personal, authentic views of what I saw last night. And guys, what I saw last night was sportsmanship at its finest. I'll say that one more time. What I saw last night was sportsmanship at its finest. It was one generation acknowledging the next generation. Listen, guys, if you talk about sports and athletes, Generation X single-handedly delivered some of the most iconic sports figures the world has ever known. Mike Tyson, okay, basketball, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Dennis Rodman, the list goes on and on. Football, Tony Romo, Marion Barber, Emmitt Smith, the list goes on and on. NASCAR, Dale Jr., Jeff Gordon, all of those guys were Gen X. Wayne Gretzky, Gen X, hockey. Bo Jackson, Gen X. Bo did everything. Bo knows. If you know, you know. Bo knows. Generation X offered some of the most entertaining. And listen, Mike Tyson, guys, the significance of Mike Tyson to the boxing world, when he came onto the boxing scene, of course, he was trained by Cus D'Amato. He lived in Cus's house, thought of the man as his dad. When Mike Tyson burst onto the boxing scene, HBO had already said that the golden age of boxing had happened. That there would be no more Alis. That there would be no more Joe Frazier's. There would be no more George Foreman's. There would be no more Rocky Marciano's. Boxing was a dying sport until a young man at the age of 20 knocked out the current heavyweight champion. Boxing came back to life. You could say the same thing happened in the 90s when Steve Austin was put at the head of the WWE entertainment lot, and he became the face of the company. Pro wrestling was in its waning years in the early 90s, with the cartoon wrestling, the bogus storylines, the crap that nobody cared about. Mike Tyson saved pro boxing. Now, you've had my thoughts about Don King and all that stuff. Had Mike Tyson not self-imploded, had he not cracked under the pressure of a Don King, of a Robbie Givens, media, had he not cracked under the pressure of all that, you would be having the conversation of Mike Tyson today as one of the top two boxers in the world, which I think he is personally. I think Muhammad Ali, Mike Tyson, your two greatest fighters in history. Number one and number two, either way you want to stack them. But I think Mike Tyson's legacy would have been equal to any other person's legacy who ever boxed once in their life. Iron Mike Tyson, of course, the baddest man on the planet, was his moniker. Last night, he showed that he is very much a influential person in professional boxing. He showed last night that he cares about the boxing business still today. He showed last night that to keep the business alive, you have to pass the torch, which is exactly what he did with Jake Paul. He passed the torch. As far as the rest of the event went, guys, I mean, like I said, Cerrito Taylor was proper as the double main event. Those young ladies went out there and did it good. If you haven't watched it, I recommend going back to Netflix and catching the replay of it. Netflix did a good job. I will say that. Not everyone's going to be happy. Not everyone's going to be happy, but I watched all of the undercard fights, and then I watched the semi-main and the main event, and it felt very retro to me. It felt right. It felt like you were opening the door to boxing. You were welcoming in the old school fans to the new school. And I will say this, I'm going to tag Jake Paul and Logan Paul and whoever else I can tag in this live, if YouTube will let me upload this live and let me put it on my channel. I'm going to tag them. If it ever got saw by Jake Paul, I would say to you, Jake Paul, I tip my hat. You, young man, are a class act. You showed the proper respect to a legend last night. You reignited my passion for watching boxing. I haven't watched boxing in over 20 years. And I will be following your career going forward. I'm very interested now. You have that monkey off your back. It was your dream match to box Tyson. You got to do your dream match. You got to live your dream. I'm very interested now to see what you do going forward. Talking about the Paul brothers, guys, Logan and Jacob. Logan, of course, is in pro wrestling. He's in the WWE. He was never supposed to be anything until he went out and proved that he could wrestle. He went out and won the United States heavyweight title. He is still contracted to WWE as a pro wrestler. He was at the boxing event last night supporting his brother Jake. Like I said, no matter where they come from in their background, you have to tip your hat to these young men because they're giving the flowers to the ones who need the flowers. And Mike Tyson deserved to get the recognition that he got last night. Jake Paul deserved the recognition that he got last night. Listen, it was a no-win situation, guys. It really was. Had Jake Paul went out there and knocked out Mike Tyson, everybody would have said, big deal, you knocked out a 58-year-old man. On the other hand, had Mike Tyson went out there and knocked Jake Paul out, he would have ended Jake Paul's boxing career. If Mike Tyson would have knocked Jake Paul out last night, Jake Paul would have never got another serious boxing match the rest of his entire career because he got knocked out by a 58-year-old man. So it was never about the boxing match. It was about the entertainment aspect of it. It was about putting a name out there that everybody could readily recognize. It was about showing this man the proper respect. And like I said, class act all the way around. I'm sure I missed a ton of stuff in the comments here. But I hope y'all got to watch it. I know I missed second cousin Ray Ray's live stream last night because I was spending time with R1 and my son. We were watching the event together. Had a great time. I wouldn't trade that memory for nothing. But I'll go back later on if it will upload this and see everybody. I want to thank everybody who came in. Yeah, it was a fun time. It was a fun event. I would be interested in watching it again. I may go back and rewatch it again later on. Man, I'm telling you guys, that undercard fight between Sereno and Taylor, them young ladies, it was a rematch from 2 years ago, and they tore the house down from what I understood. I haven't watched the match yet, but I'm going to. It was a rematch from a match 2 years ago. And guys, when I say those girls threw down in that ring, they both left a bloody mess. Sereno's eye was split wide open. Taylor's eye was split wide open. They left that ring a bloody mess. They threw it all down in the center of the ring. They had an amazing, amazing fight. The welterweight, I think it was welterweight boxing match that they had, the two young men, both of them from Puerto Rico, Barbosa Jr., and I can't remember the other guy's name, but they had a fantastic fight. They went in there and threw gloves. Netflix and Jake Paul put on an excellent event last night. You're not going to please everybody. There's going to be some people who will say they failed. Some people are going to say Jake Paul failed because he didn't knock Mike Tyson out. Some people are going to say Mike Tyson failed because he didn't knock Jake Paul out. It was never meant to be that. That was never the intention of the event. But you're not going to please everybody. But as a wrestling promoter, as a guy who has promoted events, as a wrestler who has entertained people or tried to entertain people inside the ring, by the fourth round, I understood what was happening. I understood that this was never meant to be a fight. It was meant to be a exhibition, and that's very much what it was. But my hat's off to Jake Paul and to Mike Tyson. You gentlemen did a fantastic job last night. I thought it was perfect. I will give it 8 out of 10 stars, and the only reason I don't give it 10 out of 10 stars is there was a couple of things that kind of felt hokey to me. There was too much promotional video stuff on the main event. I think you could have dialed that back just a little bit and kind of just went full bore with it. I think it would have been better. And Jake Paul's entrance in the dually truck was, I understood the entertainment aspect of it. I understood why he was doing it, but he came out in a dually. Mike Tyson walked to the ring just like he always has. I think Jake Paul would have done better had he just walked to the ring, got in the ring, and been ready for the match. But I think they did a little bit too much with the video packaging and stuff. I think it was a little bit excessive, a little bit overboard, but that's just the old school promoter in me. But yeah, 2 thumbs up on the whole event. But guys, I went a little early with this live. We've been on here for 28 minutes, going on 30. I came on a little early because John, the retired rider, was going to go live when he went to the dealership. He's looking at a new Road Glide. He had a live just a little bit ago about, I think he's kind of talked himself out of getting rid of his Road King. But he was talking about going live at the dealership, and I kind of wanted to be there to support that for him. So I went live a little early. I'd originally set this for 12:15. Now, if you're new here, like I said, I'm a moto blogger. Rolling with T-Bone, I shoot moto content, cryptid content. Check out my cryptid content. If you have found us because of me talking about the event last night, I don't always cover boxing stuff or wrestling stuff, but I think I will try to do that. Maybe something I might think about doing in the future. But if you are new here, check out some of my other videos. Make sure I'm right for you, because the moto, if you're not here because of moto blogging, I may not be right for you. But guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Thank you all who came in. I'm going to go back and reread the comments. Everybody's got their own opinions about it, guys, and that's what makes the world so great. is that, you know, opinions, everybody has them. And like I said, I was with the rest of the world up to about the fourth round, and I seen kind of what was going on then, and it all started clicking and making sense. Uh, it was never meant to be no more than what it actually turned out to be. But hey, Mike Tyson deserves his flowers, guys. Mike Tyson has got the rawest deal in sports. But guys, I'm going to get off here, and I will see y'all. If John goes live, I'm going to jump over in his chat and see what he's doing. Tonight, the Duct Tape Community, Moto Bomb, Virginia. I think he's still in the chat. Moto Bomb, Virginia is going to be going live at 7 p.m. Come hang out. I usually jump in there when I get a chance, and I'll kind of get them tickled and laughing, and then I'll jump out of there. But yeah, come over, hang out with us tonight. Hang out in the chat, meet some cool folks, meet some very cool folks. But guys, until the next time, take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and hey, thanks for watching.